Hello there, Dave here again. We are going to finish up Esther, and I do want to remind you that Esther isn't even her name. It's Hadassah. Esther is the name that the Gentile king gave to her, and we just kind of kept it that way in the Bible, and that's fine. We refer to her as Esther, but remember her name is Hadassah, which is a beautiful name. But Esther herself is chosen by God at this point in history, pivotal time in history, to free her people from the dictatorship, the tyrannical insanity of Haman, who wanted to kill her, of the edict that he convinced the king to draw to kill all the Jews. It's crazy. But Mordecai convinces her, not that hard to go. It's like, for such a time as this, God is going to deliver Israel. God is going to take care of the Jews. But he's using you right now. If you don't do it, he's going to find someone else that does. And that's fine. God is going to have the glory, but you are being called to be part of that. He wants to involve us in what he's doing. So she goes to the banquet, this first banquet for the king, and she kind of, I wouldn't say chickens out. I think it was timed so that it wasn't her timing, it was God's timing. Because in between those two banquets, Haman does something crazy. Haman is frustrated with Mordecai. He's plotting to kill Mordecai, and from the advice of his wife and others, he decides to do just that, plan to go to the king and say, I want to, we'll get to that in a second. Chapter 6, honor for Mordecai. Okay, this is where the king is very tired, but not tired enough to fall asleep. I've had these nights, actually, a lot of them, when I don't go back and read my own journals about my own life and all that. But that's what the king did. All the annuals of the king, all of the things that he had done in his life, everything. He goes back when he's tired and can't sleep. He goes back and reads about himself. But it's good that he did that, because he read about the time when Mordecai saved his life by, exposing the assassination attempt that was about on his life. And the king's like, well, wait a minute. There's nothing in here about a reward. What did we do for the guy who saved my life? And the servants are like, well, nothing, sir. So right at that moment, Haman comes into the king. You cannot fake this. This is all God. It's amazing. Right at that moment, Haman's like, hey, king, I want to do, but he gets interrupted and says, the king's like, well, Haman, what would you do? And Haman's thinking that the king is talking to him about him. What would you do for somebody who you wanted to honor? That you wanted to, parade about as and uplift. And Haman's thinking that the king is talking about himself. So of course Haman goes with the first thing you can think of. What would I want to do for myself? How would I want to be worshipped and praised and adored by all people? And he gives this whole litany about that. And the king says, go do that for Mordecai. And Haman's just like, what? So you can get the drama there. And of course the king is like, okay, go do that. And Haman does that. And then Esther 7, you have Haman, the second banquet. Esther finally makes her request to the king, please take care of the Jews, save our lives. Because the king didn't know she was Jewish. So it's pretty insane. And Haman, gets exposed as the wicked man who is plotting against the king. And then the servants come in at that moment and tell Haman, hey, the gallows that you wanted to have erected to kill Mordecai, they're ready. And these were like pikes in the ground, okay? Not modern, they predated crucifixion. So it was ahead of time. It was ahead of their time for crucifixion. But really the Persians kind of invented it. The Romans took that and made it even nastier. Anyway, chapter 8, there's the appeal to the king. Haman's home is given to Esther. Haman is hanged on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. You can't make this stuff up. It's insane, the story. It's amazing. It's dramatic, and it's true, and it's real, and it's authenticated, and we need to remember that. The word of God is for us. At any rate, there's victory for the Jews, defeat for the enemies, chapter 9, Mordecai's promotion in chapter 10. And of course, that's the end of it. But we want to just remember that God's hand is in everything. His hand is supernatural in all things, working in history. And we need to remember that he involves us in his work. He wants to involve us. He is wise, and he always provides for his people. He allows his people to be tested. He allows us to go through trials. He allows us to go through testing to make us stronger, to make us more like him, but also to help other people. If you're going through something right now, and I know many of us are, if you're going through something now, it may be so that you can comfort someone else later on down the road. Every child should rejoice in the fact that we have God on the throne who is for us. We have Jesus on the throne. To them, to the Jews all around the territory, hearing about Hadassah, hearing about Esther being on the throne as queen would have been very comforting to those people. And to us, it is comforting as well that we have Jesus on the throne for us as our advisor, but also as the person praying and interceding for us before the Father. And that is Esther, part 2. And we'll go into Job in the next one. God bless, my friends.